I'll let you in on the mind of a woman. They fear the prospect of single men who aren't desperate and lonely, but are rather enjoying their life and achieving great feats without regard for women. You may be tempted to doubt why that is. Don't worry, I'll back up this claim with biology and evolutionary psychology, which is the greatest factor in studying intergender dynamics. Throughout history, single men have been an easy nut to crack. He's probably some lonely good-for-nothing bum who can't attract a woman if his life depended on it. He doesn't have a woman because he can't. That was the implication for thousands of years when you saw a single man. But the interesting angle to this is, the women still enjoyed the attention and validation this man brought, even though he would always be unsuccessful in attracting the woman he wanted. But the paradigm is shifting. Women are realizing that for the first time in history, the MGTOW movement is encouraging men to go their way and find meaning and fulfillment in something other than women. They were single because they weren't high value enough. Today, that's less and less the case. Let's be honest. Women have almost never been the sole source of man's happiness. Men treat women more like a conquest and pleasure innately than finding deep meaning in one's woman. But the impact of this on dating dynamics is clear. The more men check out of relationships, the less men there are to go around for both commitment and the validation they provide for free. This is the modern female predicament. The female psychology is a herd psychology. For all of human history, they have banded together in groups of women and found meaning, entertainment, and solace from their group. This is partly why they are relatively more socially attuned and adept at emotional empathy and even manipulation. For them, the source of their self-esteem is not inside them, but outside. It comes from their group of women and the men that pay attention to them, and even more importantly, the quality of the man that is interested in them. And this is the reason they parade as symbols of beauty. This is why the makeup industry is worth $1 trillion, and this is why they try on different outfits just to accentuate their figure and enjoy the male gaze. This is so common for them. And that's almost second nature. It's almost understood and established that even a subpar woman in attractiveness will have simps thirsting over her. But panic starts to set in when there's that one guy that doesn't give her that free attention. Questions and doubts start to reign in her mind, and she starts to notice her self-esteem damaged and wanting the validation of that man to prop up her ego once again. Now multiply that one by hundreds and imagine how damaging the MGTOW is to women and why they fear it. There is another reason why women are afraid of the MGTOW movement, and that has to do with pragmatics of the modern gender dynamics. Every time I talk about the dating market, I'm talking about something with a very large scale and proportion. It refers to how one half composed of billions of people interact with the other half composed of billions. So naturally, analogies of economics becomes highly relevant on top of the biological foundation of sexual and mating dynamics. Women, being the high value and more sought after commodity in this market, are not used to rejection. In fact, they are used to people fighting over them and their love and attention. But when this role is reversed, they realize they were never prepared for it. If you think men can't take a rejection, wait till you see a woman being rejected. It hits them at the core of their ego and self-esteem. Secondly, when more and more men check out of the dating market, the balance of power will start to shift. Less buyer means lower value of the commodity. Yes, it's a cold translation of the price system to the dating world, but the world at its core is a cruel place. Women realize they may not have access to the free attention and validation they used to, and on top of that, they won't even have the same quality of man chasing them that they used to. This means that the man she truly wants is finding happiness in something other than pursuing her endlessly, and even more frightening. They have to chase that high-value man themselves after sacrificing their ego and risk rejection, which would annihilate their self-respect even more. Trust me, gents, when you become so attuned to the dynamics underneath the dating market, it's like watching a sports game. It's interesting and exciting because you finally know the unspoken and unwritten rules of the game. Isn't it clear now to you why the modern femme-centric social order is so obsessed with tearing down the MGTOW movement, deriding it as a toxic and misogynistic one? Women can't fathom the idea of men not being interested in them anymore because it runs counter to the precedent of history. MGTOW is a threat to their power to use their attractiveness as a cudgel, and to manipulate male emotions into giving them free gifts, validation, and God forbid even money. Life for a woman is like a Tinder swiping game. Swipe right and left all today, but they'll never run out of options to consider. But for the first time, the squeeze is being put on the number of options available, and every swipe left is a man that could have been one of their last good options at a stable and healthy relationship. In the modern world, I would say especially in the last 2 years with the growth of the manosphere, more men are realizing the idea that marriage and divorce can take away decades of hard labor from them and make them a hollow shell of a man they cannot afford to be. They are waking up to the fact that their woman is a choice they must make with careful deliberation of the long-term damage potential, and so are withholding from women what they want, which is their protection and commitment. This is by far the greatest loss that women are having to bear with the rise of the MGTOW movement, as more and more of them realize that there is a dead end at the end of the exciting decade of 20s, and their biological clock will force them to change their ways or be left lonely and resentful at the twilight of their lives. It is a kind of masculine strength to be able to refuse something you innately crave for the pursuit of, something much greater and fulfilling. But it is even more threatening to women when the object of desire is them. A man who cannot be controlled by the whims of his emotions is a man on his path that cannot be swayed, and that is an irresistibly attractive man. There was an interesting study on this that refused to leave my head and blew my mind when I first heard it. When women are rejected by a high-value man, it hurts women, but even more surprisingly, they go on to reject all other lower-value males that approach her in order to back up her ego once again, instead of accepting the initiation of the betas. This fact is enough to show you how the attention of high-value man ties so closely into the self-esteem, ego, and dignity of a woman, while also affecting her long-term prospects for a fulfilling relationship. This is why the MGTOW movement is snowballing into something that threatens to unravel the very foundational dynamics of dating in the modern world, and it is having impacts that we cannot even gauge right now, until a few years have passed and the full extent of the movement can be assessed. But one thing is for sure, the world is changing fast, and anyone too slow to adapt to it will be wiped away. And to do that, you need relevant resources of knowledge, and that is why I created this channel, to guide you in the shifting tides of the modern world, and to make sure my listeners come out ahead than all others, and the mass of blue-pilled betas that populate the world today. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends, because we need as many men in our fight as we can get. Until next time.